Now, because of the popularity of the client-server applications, people started to create, different companies and different groups started to create their own versions of clients and their own versions of servers. Now, for example, Google has their own web client that is the Chrome, right? Microsoft have their own client that is Microsoft Edge. And then there is Safari, there is Firefox, there are so many clients, right? Also, on the other side, might not be visible for you right now. On the server side, also, there are different software systems that can act as servers. Okay, just like we have Chrome and Edge and Firefox and all that, there are different types of servers. Now, in addition to that server and the client itself as a software, now you have applications that would run on them. So say you have something like OWL. This is an application that part of it would run inside the server software. Another part of it would run inside the client software. Okay, so now we have so many people creating so many parts that are supposed to work together. So in order to make that creation of web application smooth, we needed some set of rules to make that communication between the different components consistent. Okay, so instead of having every company, okay, if you want to create a web client, you will have to create the web server that would interact with it. And then the people who are going to create web application that run on your client and server will have to be restricted to the rules you created on your own system. That's how it started early on. Okay, but that's not very efficient. So in order to free the ability to create the web applications and make them easy to install or to create and to run on different clients and different servers, we needed some consistent set of rules. This is what we call a protocol. Okay, so a protocol is just a set of rules that everybody who wants to create this type of system has to follow, regardless which component is it. So there is what's called the HTTP protocol. So anyone who wants to create web application or anything that is related to a web application, you need to follow the rules of the HTTP protocol, whether you want to create a client, a server, or an application that runs on them. Okay. Another popular protocol is FTP. You may have heard of it, file transfer protocol. So anyone who wants to create a file server or a file client, if they follow this rule, then their client or server would be accessible to more people. So that makes the system more successful. Okay. Now there are different types. I'm talking about the ones that are common, became like very common among even non-technical people. Almost everybody heard about our web application. A lot of people heard about FTP as well, file transfer. Okay, but there are so many other types of service like database server, you can have application server. So concept-wise, the server is just some software that receives request, translated into some sort of action, create a response based on that, and then send it back. Okay. Now, for an example to understand the difference between desktop or the standalone application versus the web-based application or the client-server application is what you see with the Office. So if you want to have the Office installed, the actual Office application installed, then that would be a standalone or desktop application. So let's say we have a lab that has 100 devices in order to run this version of the application, we need to install it in every single device in the lab, right? So if you install the Office on your laptop or on your computer, you are installing a standalone or desktop application. Now, if you don't have it installed, you can access the web version of it. Now, if you go to the Office 365, so it is pretty much the same application, but you access it through the browser. So there it's like a web-based or a client-server-based version of the same application. It's not exactly the same, but it is somewhat similar, right? Okay, so this would be a distributed system because the actual Office, the actual PowerPoint, or the actual Word runs on the server. You just see the appearance of it or the interface of it on the browser, but the actual application is running on the server. Okay. So the HTTP protocol is very important protocol that is originally started to transfer what we call HTML content. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It's just, the HTML is just a formatting language. Okay, so if you want some text to appear as a title, like bold and big, then you put it inside a title tag or a header tag. Okay, so it's just formatting language. That's how it started. And the HTTP protocol was introduced as a standard way to transfer HTML content. That's how it started. But right now, it is used to transfer a lot of other types of data. Okay. Now, I recommend HTML language is good to know. It's very easy. It's very good to know. If you go to the W3 schools tutorials, so I posted the link to the Python tutorials, but you can see some sections for HTML. I recommend if you have some time, you look into it. It's good to know. Okay. Now, how does that HTTP protocol work? Because we're gonna have to work with it. Even though we're not getting HTML data, we're getting data in different other formats, but we're gonna need the protocol to access the data. Okay, now how does it work? First of all, you need, when you are in the browser, you need to send a request, right? Send a request where? You need to know the address of the server that is going to receive your request. Or the address of the web server is, you can use the IP, like if you are familiar with the IP, like the numeric address of the actual server. But there is a more convenient way to access or to refer to the address of the server that we call the unified resource locator, or the URL. So if you want to see the content of UWO web application, this is the address, uwo.ca, that will, the uwo.ce part is the address of the server part. Okay, and then when you say /index.html, you say, I want to see the file named index.html that is located in this server, in this address. Okay, so when you put the URL in the address bar in the browser, your browser is the client. It takes that URL, sends the request to the address part. Okay, the first part here, www.uwo.ca is where the server is. And then you tell the server, give me the index.html file that you have stored there in your server. Okay, the server will receive that, look for this file. When it finds it put it in an HTTP response. So kind of put it in a package that is the HTTP response, and send it back to the requester, to the client that requested it. Okay, now the client would receive it, and if we talk about HTML content, then it would just format it and present it in its like graphical formats and stuff, the HTML format. Okay, now we are gonna use this similar mechanism to get data in different format, like JSON format or CSV format. it's still, you send it as HTTP request, you will receive it as HTTP response. Okay, even though it's not necessarily HTML. All right. Now, there are two main types of requests. There are a lot of other types as well, but the most popular ones are GET and POST. So GET, when you send, it's like, so this GET request is like sending a postcard. So you see the postcard is not inside an envelope, right? So the message will be on the postcard, the address will be on the postcard. So the address on the postcard and the message you want to send also on the postcard. So if there is something sensitive, like a password or a bank account or something like that, you don't need it to send, you don't want to send it in a GET request. Because the GET request is like postcard is all open. Okay? Now the POST request is a little bit protected. So it's like sending a letter inside an envelope. So only the address will appear on the envelope, but the actual message, actual content is inside the envelope. Only when the server receives it, it will open the envelope the envelope and see what's in it. So if you need to protect your information, like you send username and password, send it as a POST request. Okay? If the information is not sensitive, you can send it as a GET request. Okay?